not afraid, so I got more fire. A veces quisiera quedarme calladito, tranquilito, mansito, patadito, sin abrir el piquito. Pase lo que pase, no mover ni un dedito, solo para que no digan aquí viene el cristianito. Hacer el papelito de que todo está bonito y no alarmarme ante lo corrupto e ilícito. Conformarme ante el sistema de este mundito y callar la verdad como si la verdad fuera un delito. No, yo pego el grito, póngase quien se oponga, y a quien le sirve el sombrerito que se lo ponga. I'm not afraid, so I got more fire. A veces quisiera quedarme calladito, tranquilito, mansito, patadito, sin abrir el piquito. Pase lo que pase, no mover ni un dedito, solo para que no digan aquí viene el cristianito. Hacer el papelito de que todo está bonito y no alarmarme ante lo corrupto e ilícito. Conformarme ante el sistema de este mundito y callar la verdad como si la verdad fuera un delito. No, yo pego el grito, póngase quien se oponga, y a quien le sirve el sombrerito que se lo ponga.
All right, so God bless everybody in advance. I hope everybody had an amazing, beautiful, blessed day today. I'm gonna do a quick mic check because I couldn't really do it earlier with David. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Yes, yes. So before we go any further with today's special presentation and special amazing show honoring our beloved father, who today would have been 67 or 65. Not sure, it's one or the other.
I'm bad with the numbers.
I'm terrible with numbers. Hey Jules.
I always forget how old you are, and I do remember that you're three years away from me. So
I'm always 21. That's always the correct answer. I'm always 21 years old, no matter how much time passes by. So, but the age doesn't really matter. The point is, today would have been his birthday, and so instead of sitting here and lamenting ourselves and crying and like, oh, woe is me, we decided and agreed to celebrate the life of our father and honor him with true storytelling, right? And I'm gonna share some videos that either he made or something that he made or something that he's in, so that we can kind of like soak up a little bit of his essence and remember him for who he was, right? And for who he what's the word I'm looking for, pretty much like led the way for us to be, right? So first things first, what year was he born? That's the thing, is that I know that mom was born in 65, so he was probably born earlier than that because he's older than her. So maybe 1962? Yeah, the year, yeah, that one. And I only know mom's birthday just because I've had to like go with her to a lot of places where I've had to like use it, like the pharmacy or whatever. So I've been forced to learn it. But Pops' year is, I think it's 1962. I could be wrong, but
yeah.
Anyways,
61 maybe.
61,
maybe.
But you know, again, the number doesn't really matter. What does matter is celebrating his life, honoring his legacy, honoring who he was, who he is, and just kind of like taking down a trip down memory lane, which now that I just said that, I do want to begin or start things off officially with a song of his that is actually a birthday song that I could be wrong, but either he wrote or he had someone write it, and of course he recorded it on his album.
Yeah. So
either way, whether it was written by him or not, he's a performer of it. And so without further ado, happy birthday, Mr. David Quinones style. if the volume isn't crazy loud, then forgive me. I hope it's loud enough to actually enjoy his opera voice.
Hoy las flores se ven más alegres. Hoy los pájaros no dejan de trinar.
And I know some of you are going to be like, what is he singing? What is he saying? I don't know Spanish. I get it. Just bear with me. Just enjoy his voice for now. So, as we're hearing him, right, I gotta ask, because I don't think we've ever talked about this, but like, if you were to put Pops like in a category of like style and like tone of voice of like singers, along with like other great singers of like, you know, his time or whatever, like, who would you more or less like think he would be, you know, like well pinned against, or be forget the word now, but pretty much like alike or similar to him? It's tough, right? It's like a weird thing to like pinpoint.
Yeah, and like I don't know if like are they able to hear us? Cause like I can hear the music really loud.
It
Like,
is.
I don't know
I
if
can
you
barely
hear
hear it. Let me lower the song a little bit here. Can you hear me
Yeah.
now better?
Yeah, I can hear you better.
Okay, they can hear us though, but go ahead.
Yeah. Man, like I don't know, like so, like he used to like singing in so many different styles. Did it go back again? Did the volume go back up?
No,
Okay.
I could lower it more.
No. I just feel like if I'm screaming, like I just feel like if I gotta scream.
Is that better?
Yeah, let's see if it stays that way. It feels like
You're like, well, if you let me talk, if you let me interject here with my thoughts.
it feels like it was going up. Yeah, so like he used to sing different styles, like depending what style, it would be somebody that you could say that voice sounds like that person or something like that. So really can't say like one specific person. There's so many different people, you know.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really asked myself that question, just because there's people who have like very unique voices, right? And I was having this conversation with Dalian, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday. We were talking about Bruno Mars and how he has a very distinguished and unique voice where you really can't compare him with anybody else. He's like in his own lane, and that's the same thing I would say with Pops. Like there isn't like another voice that I could like compare him to, or style. He had his own unique style. And it's funny because he would try to like somewhat emulate other singers every now and then. Him and I were really big fans of like Ricardo Rodriguez and that type of music. And so he would try to emulate like him a little bit on sometimes when he would like sing at church some of his songs, but it would end up like still being like his version of like the song, which is good because nobody wants to be like an exact duplicate of somebody else when it comes to like music and singing. But it was like a very like noticeable like I could see he's trying to kind of like, you know, do like his face, but it just keeps coming up his own way. But so now that we've put Dad's birthday song, which you could find on YouTube. I don't think he's gonna be on Amazon Music or Apple Music or nothing like that. Hopefully, at some point, we find a way to get his music on there. Not really to gain crazy like money, but just to have his music and his voice out there, just because he deserves to be out there. But at some point, that'll happen. But for now, you can find his music on YouTube. In that video that I just shared, this the whole album that I uploaded years ago. So all right. So let's go back in time. And what is the earliest recollection of backstory that you know about Pops, as far as like something that our grandparents might have said, or stories that they might have told us growing up? And because you know how like families and grandparents are, they'll be like, oh, your father when he was a little kid and blah blah blah. What's your earliest recollection of one of those stories about him?
Earliest recollection, I think kind of like the same type of story. Like he was always doing something. He was always trying to coordinate something. He was always trying to just be proactive, or like example, like story, like I met some friends and they would be like, yeah, like your father used to take a guitar to like school, and then he'll like start gathering like everyone around, and then he'll start playing like Elvis, and then the whole school would go to the corner, and like it would be your father that like he was just singing, like in the school, right? So like things like that. So whether it was in sports or with music, or martial arts, like I remember, I don't know if you remember seeing those like old like films of him like doing like martial arts,
Oh yeah.
like Bruce Lee Fever.
Both the unedited versions and the heavily edited versions, yes.
Yeah. And then it was him with his brothers, and then jumping off the roof of the house. Yeah, and then landing. So somebody that was always looking for something to do, I don't know to say, like to entertain others or to bless others or to make other people laugh. So like most of the stories that I would hear would be something like that, like, yo, like your father, like he would do this like with the guitar thing, like just like singing on the thing, or doing that other type of stuff. So that type of person, which I don't think there's many people like that out there,
Well, I'm glad you said everything that you just said. I've got like other, I guess, like additional stories, but going back to where you first started, how you heard other people mention how he would just like randomly like show up at school sometimes with a guitar and start like singing and playing, and everybody would gather around. Let's pause for a moment there.
Yeah.
Let's pause, because the confidence that you have to to go, because even in our days, if we did something like that, people are gonna look at you weird and funny, like weirdo. But two things.
Who brings a guitar to school?
Well, not only that, in order for you to have the confidence to do something like that, you have to, number one, either just be like really overly confident in the sense that you suck at playing the guitar and singing, but you're so confident that you just don't care, or you truly are gifted and talented to the point where you feel comfortable enough to do something like that. And from as far back as I can remember, Pops has always, the entire time I've known him, he's always been one of the most confident people I know. I wouldn't say most confident men, because I that's why I say in general, like confident people that I know. But and it's always shown in everything that he's done, like whether it be like music or athletics, sports, because even when we used to play ball at the half court
Yep.
in front of the apartment complex, and the few times that he went out there, knowing that he wasn't physically in his best, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't in his prime, but he would act and play as if he was. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I remember he would be out there like calling plays as if like some of us would already know what he's talking about, but we would just like follow orders regardless, just because of that confidence that kind of spilled out of him. And he was always like that for everything and anything that he did. And if it's something that I've always wanted, and I guess nowadays to a certain extent, I can say that I do have confidence in a lot of things that I do. But growing up, I had really bad self-esteem issues, and I always wanted that type of confidence. And it's nice to have someone to fall back on and look back to, and be like, that's where I need to get. That's the level I need to get. Where it's like, I don't care what anybody thinks or says. Like, I'm gonna, go out and do what I need to do.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like, when it comes to like basketball, he was short, and he would play like kind of like that point guard position, which is like you were saying, somebody that's like leading others on the court, like directing others, the leader in the court. And being the short guy, a lot of times people have problems being that leader. So I think, like you said, he was able to implement that in different areas of his life, whether that was in the basketball court or with music, or later on in ministry, or like in the military, like in all of these places. So I would have people like let me know, like, like how he used to play basketball, and how like I think one of his nicknames was like the magician or something like that, because of the way that he used to like play the game. So it's like impressive in so many areas. I mean, it's just you can't really say enough of like how impressive it is in those different areas. Now, one thing that at one time I did talk to him about was, how come we always went to like smaller churches when we would move from place to place? And there's a couple times that we moved nearby popular churches that were big churches, that were like the churches that everybody wanted to go to. And he would know the pastors from those churches, whether from like Puerto Rico or grandpa or something like that. And I think he would always have the opportunity to be part of that leadership, but he always kind of like decided to stay at a smaller church. And he would always say that it was because he liked that like family environment, people, like everyone knows each other, and all of that is true. But one time I kept pressing him on like why if he was so talented in so many areas, why didn't he like decide to be part of that type of church that was known, that was established, that had like a bigger impact? And in that moment, I think his answer was something like, I didn't know if I was good enough. So it's a great lesson of, we could look confident and we could be confident in different areas of our lives, but at sometimes, in some moments, in some seasons of our life, we're not gonna be able to be confident in all areas of our life. And So I mean, I think that's a great reminder. It's something that I always said, man. Why didn't you? Because I think he would have been a great addition to those type of like pastors and leaders and that type of impact, like worldwide impact. But he had an impact. It was a different impact for a different type of people, right? Smaller churches, more direct to people, kind of like more direct to the community. The church family that he was part of was able to go to different, like countries and have like their impact there. So definitely an international impact, a community impact, a straight one-on-one with people impact. But we're not perfect, right? So I mean, there's areas that maybe we don't feel like if we're good enough, or we don't feel confident enough. But the thing is that people around you will always see that, so like everyone that was around him would be like, man, this guy, he could play the drums, he could play the guitar, he could play a little bit of keyboard, he could sing, he plays the bass, he could teach, he could preach, I don't know if you remember in Fountain of Power in West Palm Beach, where he drove the bus for some time. Like we cleaned the church, a youth pastor, it's like anything that you could think of, he could do it. But still, the questions of am I good enough is still gonna come up, still gonna be part. So yeah, I think that's one of those things that is good to remember.
Oh, and I know that if we were to, all of us as a family, and also everyone who he encountered and touched while at church or in the community or in the neighborhood, if we were all to sit down and talk amongst ourselves and do a vote, like a voting, and be like, oh, like could have he done this or that, or could have he gotten here or there, could have he reached a bigger audience, I'm certain that it would be like 100%, like we would all vote that yes he could. So it is interesting how even though everyone around him was as confident in him as he appeared to be in himself, it is interesting to note that he had his moments where he doubted himself, in some areas, which I would never understand, because I mean, there's people that you can say that they're a jack of all trades, master of none. But Pops was beyond that. He wasn't just like a jack of all trades, man. He was like a few steps above a jack of all trades. He was close to being master of most. Meaning that he really was great at almost everything and anything that he did or attempted to do. And another thing is that he was, which is something that I got from him, is he was very much a perfectionist in a lot of areas of his life, especially if it had something to do with like something visual that he wanted to present to the church or the community. Or he always wanted to make sure that he was on point as far as like professionalism and making sure that it looks up to par with like the standard, if not better. But when it came to everything outside of that, meaning everything that that he did out of his own like heart and passion, yes, he would make sure he was still doing his best, but he wouldn't solely depend on that perfectionist mindset. He would just trust God that since he is doing his best and giving his best, then God is going to do what he needs to do through him in that moment,
So
Yeah.
I think like you and him have like a lot of stuff like in common. I mean, there's things that he has in common with D. I mean, there's probably things that he hasn't, like he has in common with all of us. He has something in common, like differently, but definitely in that area of like taking the time to make sure that something comes out good and have the details to it. Oh, that's definitely something that you and him, because like I really didn't have the patience for like doing that stuff. I'm like, nah, I can't be here. And like that sounds good to me. Like let's call it a wrap. Like we're done here. But he's like, no, 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 it's not ready. And then keep working on it, which is like como like sometimes like we're talking and then you tell me that you're still troubleshooting something or you're working on something, you're trying to make it like right. So that's that type of thing that I'll say like you got from him. Things that I can say that we got from him, like trying like having vision, being a dreamer, working for some things, continuing to try to achieve these things. I think we all like all of us kind of like got that from him. And I would say he was able to see a lot of the things that he kind of had vision for. Some things we don't get to see. And that's the thing that I believe sometimes people like forget when it comes to like even biblical figures that never really got to experience the vision they received, right? So you got somebody like Moses received the vision, like heard the word, obeyed the word, walked, faced challenges, obstacles, but he was never really able to experience kind of like that thing, that dream, right? That thing that God called him to. But the next generations after him, they were able to experience that. They were able to enjoy that, So in a lot of areas, it's like that dreamer mentality. Like I know we get a lot of that from him, having kind of like vision for aspiring, to have impact in people, in people's lives. It's not about the money. It's never been about the money. It's about having impact on people's life, community, legacy. Like when you're gone, like how are people gonna remember you? Like are they gonna remember you because you made a lot of money, or because like you listened to them, because you believed in them? Like one of the things that I know that he was really good at was like looking like looking at people and finding the value in them and seeing the potential. That's the word that I'm looking for. Seeing potential in others where they themselves do not see it, right? So when people see that you see something in them that they themselves had not seen, they're gonna be eternally grateful because like you inspired them, you moved them, you motivated them towards a purpose, a bigger purpose in life, So like all of these things are important. All these things are things I think that we should celebrate when it comes to like him and kind of like the legacy that he passed on to us, that now it's like our responsibility to continue to pass that legacy to like the next generations, the people that met him and the people that never got to meet him but will meet him through us, right? And our interactions like with them and with other people. Like when somebody would see me or interact with me and they're like, man, like how did you, then it's like first we always say, like it's God working in us, but then you gotta credit the people that educated you and kind of like took you through those steps and that you gain most of these things. So he goes back and he gets credit, right? So he continues to kind of like live, if you could say that way, in other people's lives when we're able to pass these like things forward to the next generation. If
I
that makes
think
sense. Like I think I was talking for a little while.
no, you're good. You're good. It actually drives a point that I meant to make earlier, but so like I honestly do believe Pops when you would ask him the question about why not try things at a bigger church or that type of questioning, and he would say that he preferred the more like family oriented or family connected churches. I will say that I feel that Pops knew so well the importance of being an example of your neighborhood and community like first,
Yeah.
and everything else will fall in its place, because when you are a representation of Christ and you as an individual impact the people around you because you're a reflection of Christ around them, and then so is the family, then it's much more of an impact, and you're able to reach people faster because it's by testimony that people are intrigued. Anybody could talk, and sure, maybe some ears will like listen in and they'll be interested, but the whole testimony of seeing someone actually live what they talk and preach, and I think for the most part, like I do believe that when Pops answered what he answered, he was being truthful. Maybe the doubting himself like came along the way at some point, and maybe it was a thing to some degree, but I do believe that more importantly and mainly, hey Ryan, what's up? God bless you. He was much more focused on that intermission first, and then God allowed to do whatever he was going to do from the inside, and then slowly outwardly. And then, if God wanted to take him further and reach more people and reach more, like a wider audience, then he trusted God that God would do it, but that it wasn't his like main intention.
I think like it goes back to all of us at some point not believing in ourselves or doubting ourselves. I think like every human being goes through that at some time, at some moment. Again, different characters in the Bible, you'll see how when they were called, a lot of times they're like, I'm not old enough, I can't talk, who am I? Like I'm just this person, so we all kind of battle through that. But even the things that we battle through, God a lot of times uses these things to place us in the place where he needs us. So even something like that is a way of explaining like why he felt more confident or more comfortable, or like it feels more useful in a smaller church, more family oriented, more community centered, more one-on-one opportunities. He might have felt because he was more useful there, and on God's plan it could have been because that's where he needed him to be, right?
Correct.
And then you never know if it's about setting up the next generation, right? Because then now he has like like 3 sons, like daughters that are growing up in a certain way, learning certain things, practicing certain things, going through some obstacles, through some challenges, and all of these things God will use to do whatever he needs to do for the next generation. And that's like long vision thinking and planning. See, God works in that long vision type mentality. A lot of times we work in the short vision, like now, with like, what are you doing now, God? Like, what are you doing in me? And a lot of times it goes back to like we plant trees, right, or seeds of trees that we will never eat from. But like a couple generations down the road, they're gonna eat from that tree, right? So it goes back to a lot of that. So grateful he was able to give us kind of like that example of living, that modeling, just being humble wherever God calls you to, whatever God calls you to do for the time that he calls you, in the circumstances, whatever the circumstances, being faithful to his calling, knowing that he's faithful to you, even if you don't get the yes to every prayer or question that you do, he is still faithful.
And again, you just said something and brought something that reminded me of a topic that I wanted to touch, but I wanted to share some pictures so that people could see the actual humble beginnings, as far as like the ministries that God had placed in Pop's hands and in our hands as a family.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have time to upload.
Yeah. No, I was even thinking this is something that, you know, we do for a couple days instead of doing everything in one day. Like I'll send somebody today, you know, today was his birthday. In about a week was the day that he passed away. And it was his welcoming party to heaven. And so we celebrate both. Like we celebrate the birthday, his birthday, which is today. And then we also celebrate the day that he said peace. He said peace down here and took the next step. If we believe what we say that we believe, then both days are important. The day that you are born and you begin to become what God has designed you to become, be that person that, and then the day where he's like, you finish your assignment here, welcome upstairs. You know, we if we believe what we say that we believe, then we need to act that way, right? So I don't know what you think. I think maybe a different couple of days, or we could go, some days you go through these pictures, some days we could talk, you know, different stories, different values, different lessons learned, and I think that would be a way of honoring him through that week.
Oh, of course. We could even divide it into, like, tonight, just kind of like mainly try to focus on the humble beginnings, if you will, and then next time we can talk about the midpoint of like his ministry and our ministry as a family, and then we could end it off with like where he was and where he wanted to be before, you know, he said peace. But I want people to understand something. And I think I've said this before in the past and in other videos or streams at some point, but people need to understand that our family, you know, there's people that you'll meet and they'll say, oh, I came from nothing and now I'm here. But when you look at pictures and videos of that person saying that, you'll see them like in a house, you'll see them like with like a decent job, like a car that's like either new or close to being new, and but you came from nothing, and it makes me giggle and laugh a little, because when I think back at our humble beginning, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to say it, and no one who is in a similar position should ever be embarrassed or ashamed to speak about their past, because it obviously, depending on who you end up being or becoming, right? Because there's people who come from like a humble beginning, but they take a wrong left turn and don't act right and just terrible people. But there's people who come from a humble beginning, and in spite of those humble beginnings, like they truly have allowed God to work through them and in them and with them, and have reached so many blessings, right, along with the family. And so the reason I'm saying all this is because, like, we don't know. I mean, now because of where God placed you, and you placed yourself in a position to be blessed the way you are, and you worked hard for it. But we never knew what it was to have our own house. We were always from apartment to apartment, or from a family member's house to another family member's house. And I think maybe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong about this, maybe for like a short season of time at some point, when they had me, but when they still just had you, they might have potentially lived in a house for like a short period of time before having to bounce around between other either apartments or other family members' house. And you can correct me if I'm wrong about that. I've only ever known what it is from apartment to apartment and grandma's house to grandma's house.
Yeah.
So
I think you're it's pretty accurate. Like when we lived early, I think when you were born, and we lived in Deltona, I think we lived, or Jacksonville, I think we lived in a house for like a little while. Yeah, but it wasn't like ours. I don't know if it was rented or something like that. But most of the time, so Bobby's philosophy was, he believed more in the renting a place for most of his life. Then later on, he kind of switched positions, and he thought that maybe having a home or house was the better thing. But for the and it's funny because I talked to some people that nowadays it looks like that mentality is coming back. The mentality of living in an apartment is better than owning your home, in the sense of like you don't have to worry about a bunch of things of like costs that come with having a home, like insurance, fixing this, buying this, taxes, all of these, like maintenance, like all of these different things. So I don't know who he was listening to when he was growing up, or when he was in that age, that his idea was like, no, like living in an apartment is better because this and this. And that's how we started off. But then later down the road, maybe that home, having a house, kind of was something that maybe was a priority, but then it was just harder because wanting to be in ministry and serve in ministry, not it's not gonna give you money. It's not gonna give you riches. Like a lot of people assume that everyone that's in ministry is rich or gets paid or whatever. That's not his experience. Like I used to always tell people, like when I would be at a debate or something like that, and they'll say like, oh, pastors, they rob the money from the church and whatever, and they live in big houses.
Which, by the way, it's a documentary that I want to do and make and talk about that. But go ahead, my bad. Go ahead.
No, that's a good idea. And they would be like, they have all these cars, and then I would have to be like I don't know, like who but I tell you about a bunch of pastors that I know that everything that they make, they give it to the church. That they sometimes can't feed their families properly because they're helping people from the church, which that wasn't the case for us. Like we never stopped getting fed to feed other people. Right. But if we had food and there's people that didn't have food, we would share. We would share with them. Our house would be open to help people out. So Bobby's mentality was not I'm gonna get rich to get a home thing. It's like, how can I serve people? How can I serve people? So a lot of times he didn't have a working car. A lot of times his car would be, getting like fixed, and he would have to borrow somebody else's car. all of these things happen now. Again, we didn't have everything we wanted, but we had a bunch of things that a lot of people never had, right? Or never will have. Um, whether that's experiences, like when we were in Florida, going to like all of the theme parks, that was something that we were like able to do. I kind
And
of
even
asked,
then, it was through blessings of family members, right?
right,
It
right,
wasn't
yep,
even through
yep,
like Pops himself.
yep. And that's what I was gonna. One time I asked him, I'm like, hey, because now I'm a dad and I got two girls, and I'm like, I like the first couple Christmases, I was like, how did mom and dad like get us all of the stuff that we used to get for like Christmas, or how did we used to go to these like theme parks, and then like he would tell me, it's like, no, like a lot of times, like your uncles would help me out, to get some of that stuff, or to get you guys to the parks or to the theme parks, they would help me out. So again, it was blessings that we got like through other people. I was telling somebody the other day that um of like secondhand clothes that like
Oh God,
that I used
yes.
I used to have a cousin that every time that I used to go to his house, it was like, he was getting rid of clothes. And to me that was a
Mhm.
blessing, because like I would leave his house with like brand, like name brand, like clothes, even
Mhm.
though that they were like super super big on me, but like at that time that was a style. I would leave so happy leaving the house, because I was like, man, I got me some like Fubu jeans or like any other
Mhm.
stuff, and or some like polo or like Tommy Hilfiger. But it was like blessings that we got. So all that to say, yeah, like you're saying, like we didn't always we were not always in the best places, like growing up. Sometimes there were okay places, but yeah,
And you kind of like mentioned it, but I was there and I witnessed that at one point, at one point, we had like two or three vehicles that didn't make one,
mm,
meaning two or three vehicles that were there parked
yeah,
but needed to get fixed like
yeah,
daily, like, and it was a miracle if and when one of them would actually work,
yeah,
and until the other vehicle or the other vehicles would also still be getting repaired. So I got to witness that myself, and I got to witness how many times we had to like ask for rides to go to church. Like we had to like hitch rides to go to church because
yeah.
whatever
Cars
vehicle
were
we,
getting
we had
fixed.
at the time was just not working.
Yeah,
And like I I could never complain. I would never complain about places that we were, or conditions that we had to live through, or things not working out the way they should, right?
yeah,
As far as like living uh, commodities go, like your car should work. It
yeah,
should be like a normal thing for your car to work every day.
yeah.
But for us, it was like 70% of the time we didn't have a vehicle, or no vehicles worked, and 30% of the time, oh, it actually is working. We're actually good to go. Like,
It
um,
worked.
but also on top of that, and this is what I was gonna get to earlier. I have pictures of when we started that church in Coamo, and that's another thing people will never understand is the drive up and down the mountainside,
Yeah,
from the top of the mountain to down the mountain and into other towns and cities,
yeah,
just to go to church, evangelize the community,
yeah,
and then at some point, eventually, God gifted us a spot, and we started construction there, and in order to like actually have an actual location versus having to preach and teach under the sun. And because we used to preach outdoors on the court, in the basketball court, for some time before we actually had a location. And under the burning sun, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if there was like a little roof overhead, but still the sun, it heats up the roof because it's metal, and then the sun is like surrounding you, so it's like there's no escaping from the sun. So you're hot, you're tired, you're sweaty. But Pops took it like nothing. He preached as if he was preaching in an AC room in a big church. You know, he felt confident and comfortable because, like you said earlier, he was looking at the long vision point of that ministry. It was like, this is happening for now, but further down the line, God is going to give us a place. And further down the line, the church will grow. And further down the line, he'll take us somewhere else. Yeah. And even the one time that you guys fell off the cliff, off the mountainside, you know, and the car was total damage. It was complete loss, you know, and that's something that I remember he still at some point in his last years, he would talk about it and mention it and preach about it. You know, all three of you were supposed to be that day, you, Pops, and Mom. You know what I mean? What car falls off a mountainside? I don't know how many feet down the mountainside, but it was a good amount. And in the rain, in the dirt, and glasses shattered, you know, car looked like it went to a compact almost. And yet you, Mom, and Dad came out of there without a scratch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And these are things that you look back, and if it were somebody else, they probably would have taken it differently, and they would have been like, "Oh, why, God? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Like, why? Like, you know, we can't make it to places, and now like we don't have a vehicle, and this and that." Yeah. But instead of acting that way, it was all, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you for protecting my family. Thank you for protecting myself. Thank you for allowing us to live and see another day." You know, that was the mindset that Pops had. His faith was truly unbreakable. And this is something, and I'll let you talk for a second. But this is something that I brought up in one of the last streams, is that I was there with Pops in the hospital. And I heard his prayers, because I would either pray with him or listen to him like while he was praying. Yeah. And his faith was so unbreakable, and his trust in God was so amazing and deserving of emulating, that even in moments where he questioned God, why me? Why is this happening to me? Yeah. Still, at the very end of those prayers, he would still say, "But I trust you. I don't understand why and why me, but I trust you. Like, whatever plans you have moving forward, I don't understand what's going on and why this is happening the way it is, and why I'm going through so much pain and suffering and torture, but I trust you." Yeah. And so that is the end game for us in the next generation, is, especially nowadays, where things are heading south fast as far as society goes, and as far as like all things changing, and you know, it's gonna get to a place where all you're going to have in order for you to stay sane and like survive is trusting God. That's all you're gonna have left. There is not gonna be any like, "Oh, well, maybe this." No, like, things are gonna get really bad really fast soon. And the only thing that is worthy of having present in your mind, heart, and soul is, no matter how bad this is getting, I trust God. I choose to, because it's a choice. you choose to trust God regardless.
Good. I mean, can't say nothing better than that. I'm hopping off in the next couple minutes. But I think that trusting God that you're saying, it's a really important place to kind of, one of the many things to celebrate and, like you said, emulate. Hopefully none of us have to deal with health issues like he did. Hopefully we're able to take care of ourselves so that we don't have to go down that route. But we're all gonna face something different.
Correct.
We're gonna face something different. So how are you going to trust God with your different? Are you going to crumble and blame God? Are you just gonna give up, right? So in Bobby's case, his battle was his health, and maybe some areas that didn't pan out like maybe he had hope, but our battles may be different, are gonna be different than the ones that he had or like mommy has had. But that lesson that you talk about, trusting in God no matter what, I think is a big takeaway that we could celebrate today. I know that we said that you might do some other stuff during the next week, but if you do not trust in God, you're trusting in somebody else. You're putting your faith and your trust in something or somebody else. Somebody or something else is the center of you, and therefore if that thing or that person is not there, you can't operate, right? So with Bobby, just he trusted God in every season, good times, tough times, happy times, sad times, in every season. Seeing people saved, not seeing people saved, like all of these times, he was able to find a way to trust God. So I think today, like one of those things that I woke up this morning and I put Elvis. It's kind of like the first thing that I did this morning, and got me kind of crying in the morning. But throughout the day, just being grateful. And I think that's what we do like a day today, is being grateful that we had the opportunity to meet a person so special like Bobby, and that we're able to say that was my dad. And then to us is given the mantle to carry that to the next generation. And the question is, what are you going to do with that? That's the question. That's the question.
That is the question. Well, as and this is something I said in one of the last streams too, but I believe that Pops believed in all of us. When I say all of us, I mean the family, but mainly us as a unit. He believed in Mom as her being a great teacher, capable of teaching people about the word and being good at it.
Yes.
And same thing with us three. We're musicians. We are also in a way teachers to an extent, and we all have a voice, especially when it comes like between you and me. I think he foresaw way in advance that we both had a voice that God would use for his glory and for his purposes. And we would have different crowds and communities that would be placed before us. for God to talk through us to those crowds and people. And I'm not limiting myself when I say this or limiting you. I'm just saying that sure, God could use us wherever and with whoever He places in our path.
Yeah.
But I believe that there is purpose behind like you know, preaching or teaching or talking to people within like the larger church scenario, and and me in places like this, in platforms like this.
Yeah.
And I think He saw that in advance, and I think that's something that I am gonna like carry through and see it through. So
like you, while you're talking, I'm over here thinking about a picture that we had to take like when we were like still, I think we were in West Palm Beach.
I talked about this, but go ahead.
Yeah, and we had to wear a suit and a tie, and then we were in the picture like with like holding the Bible, like doing like for preaching, like but I had never really thought about that picture till now. I think it's like testimony is prophecy, or like, you know, when you say these things to your kids, you're prophesying over them the word. You're saying the word, and you're also kind of sharing in their hearts what God has put in your heart that He is going to do through them. So it may look different than maybe we imagined it, but it all comes to fruition at some point. So we continue to pray to see that happening. And like I said, the mantle that he received, the mantle that we receive, we just it's in our hands now, and we need to push forward to the next generation, to the people around us. And if we don't do that, then we take things for granted. That's just how it goes. If we don't move it forward to the next generation, we're just taking all of that for granted. So
it's and I'm gonna let you go because I know you gotta go, but I found it so profound how we both had that epiphany and thought about the same thing. And I spoke about what you just spoke about, those pictures. I mentioned it in the other stream.
Oh, really?
You know how I told you it gets emotional real fast?
Okay.
Well, it's because of that, because I brought that moment up and I said, you know, it's funny. It was as if he was prophesying, whether he knew it or not. But he was prophesying, you know, of our talents and our gifts and the grace that God has given us to communicate, to talk, to preach, and to do so many other things that God, you know, does through us when we communicate with people. And whenever you get a chance, just watch that stream.
Yeah,
I go in depth about it.
Yeah, I'll try to catch it tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
Today, the next time I'll probably try to go, you know, the full time, but long day. I made it late because we got out of church late. We had the 30-year anniversary at the church tonight, and it was really special.
Rep your shirt. Rep your shirt so people know where you repping. What is that? What's the name? Church name called?
National Community Church in
That's
Washington.
Right. Let them know. Say it with your chest.
Yeah. National Community Church. There's
National Community Church.
Yeah. That's in Washington, D.C. Pastor Mark Batterson, Pastor Joe. Beautiful church. God has had the amazing gift of allowing us to be here for like this season of our life. So just being grateful that we're able to serve there and learn and do whatever we can for the kingdom. So everyone that was on there, like I'm on the phone, so it's kind of hard to read, but I know there's been people on there just saying hi to everyone and thank you for your time for joining us tonight on a day like this. It's special, and I pray over you guys that God may continue to bless your lives and bless you in this 2026 in a special way. And just remember that we plant seeds from trees that we will never eat, and we dig wells that we will never drink from. But there's a next generation, right? If God doesn't come soon, there's a next generation that needs it. So, amen.
On that note, we do have a convert that was an atheist and converted through this channel and through the content of this channel, and he's actively, going to church, and he's found a church home, and he's surrounded himself with church people that are gonna what's the word? Discipleship and fellowship. And so, as we always say, even if it's just one soul that got saved, all this would have been worth it. So I told him straight up, this was completely worth it. If the goal was for God to reach you through this channel or through us, then it was totally worth it. So all glory and praise be to God for that.
Amen.
So that's one fruit that I saw from a seed that I planted.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. Many more to come. Amen.
So many more.
All right. God bless you. God bless y'all. Have a good night.
All right, Dave. Thanks for being here, bro. I appreciate your time. I know you got to go. Please pray for my brother David. And we'll do this again in a few days, part 2 and part 3 if we're able to. Yeah. And yeah, man, love you. I love you. And thanks for giving me some of your time and sharing your time with the beautiful community here. So
love you, man. And I love that shirt too.
Oh, I got this at your church, so
I know.
You better like it.
All right, see y'all later.
Nah, bro, love you.
Later.
Yeah, so and these comments are beautiful to read. So please, if at any point in time in any of our streams or any of the videos you feel moved to share how God has blessed you through the channel, because I'll say this again, and I've said it many times over again, and I'll always say it, this is not a Christian channel. Okay, this is not a Christian channel. It's a Christ-centered channel, right? Like, meaning that yes, there'll be moments where I'll bring up topics like the one tonight, where it happens to speak about my father, who was a pastor, and his ministry and our ministry as a family, right, and our time at church. And there will be moments like that where I'll bring stuff like that up, but this is not particularly a Christian channel per se. The reason I do that is because I don't want to restrict or corner, right? Or there's another word for it, but I don't want to just like pigeonhole this channel to just one topic, or just like very narrow topic, because there's so many topics to talk about, and we wouldn't have the freedom to do those other topics if it were solely a Christian channel. But it is a Christian Christ-centered channel in the sense that, yes, I myself am a Christian. I am a man of God. And the people who come on here are believers, are Christians, right? And are people of God, right? As far as like the main team members of the channel, Geeko, my brother, producer Jay, etc. We're all believers and all Christians. But that's as far as like, that whole Christ-centered part of the channel goes. And the reason I'm saying all this is because even though this isn't a Christian channel, the viewers and supporters are more than welcome to share anything that God has done in their life through our channel, and whatever that may look like. You know, if he healed you, right, then talk about it, testify. If he saved someone from your family, you know, through the channel, or someone that you invited to come to a live stream or watch a video, they ended up, you know, like having questions and being interested in going to a church or starting a relationship with God, then let us know, because it really does help put things into perspective for us. And not that we're seeking validation or nothing, but it's nice, and it's a blessing, and it makes us happy and joyful to hear when these things happen, because it's like, okay, so we're gonna do this show regardless, and we're gonna do the channel regardless, but it's even more fulfilling when we actually hear testimonies or we hear stories of people whose lives were changed, you know, through a topic that we talked about on the channel, or through something that was shared, some type of information or a testimony that maybe we have shared, right? Because, you know, that testimony about the car rolling down mountainside where my brother and my parents were in, you know, it shocks a lot of people, and people kind of like, when they hear that story, it forces them to pause and be like, how is that possible? I tell you, even when the police and the ambulance got there and had seen my parents and my brother already like on the side of the road waiting for them to get there, the police and ambulance asked them, like, hey, where's the people that fell down the roadside, down the mountainside? And when my parents and brother told them that it was them, at first it took a long time for the police and ambulance to be able to believe them, because they're like, it doesn't make any sense. How is the car completely a total loss? You know, it looked like it went to like a compactor almost. Windows shattered, you know, the windshield, the back windshield, everything shattered. It doesn't make sense, right? So, but when they finished the investigation and they confirmed that it was my parents and my brother, they, like, some of them had questions, and some of them, like, you know, they were grateful that they got to see a miracle like that firsthand, right? In person. No scratches, no blood, no scrapes. The only thing that happened, and I guess it's just as like a sign of like, well, not everything will go completely unscathed, is they had neck pain, right? They had neck pain from all the movement that the car was going down mountainside. Like, if you're gonna have some type of back discomfort or neck discomfort after your car flipping down mountainside. I don't know how many feet down the mountain. It's like rolling over, right? So you're gonna have some type of pain in your neck or your back or whatever. But besides that, no scratches, no blood, no scrapes, no nothing, no cuts, nothing. And so, you know, people hear that and they're amazed, but I hope the reason that they're amazed is because those are the moments that it's like, God still does miracles. God still protects his people. You know, if it's not your time, God is going to make sure that you're going to come out of there unscathed. He's going to make sure that you come out of there without a scratch on you. You know what I mean? So, you know, these are things, and so many other things happen. So many other things, like our car got robbed one time, and someone like ran it into like some type of weird ditch and set it on fire, and they burned the entire thing. And I think after the police found it, the only things that survived were like the Bibles that were in the glove compartment, along with like Kirk Franklin, old school Kirk Franklin CDs, and like other like Christian CDs. It's the only thing that survived in the whole entire car. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, that's another miracle. Like, I would have loved it for my car not to get burned, but at least my Kirk Franklin New Nation Project CD was, you know, it was safe. safe and sound along with my Bible. But you know, there's so many testimonies that if I would not have the time to tell you guys the amount of testimonies that God has either protected us from sure death or has in one way, shape, or another protected the family overall as a unit. And the one time that I got struck by lightning, like my toe got struck by lightning, where like my sock was visibly burnt at the toe area, right? You can see the smoke coming out of the toe end of my sock, and yet nothing happened to me. Like my toe was not injured or anything. You know, just stuff like that, where it was like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so the lightning made a hole through the tent because we were camping. That's what happened. We were camping. We were in not Boy Scouts. It was a Royal Rangers camping. And Royal Rangers is like a Christian equivalent of Boy Scouts, but you know, nothing weird goes on behind the scenes. It's legitimately like just like a Christian like Boy Scout thing. Oh man, God bless you. God bless you, Lila Leona. I know you had a different username before, but I can't remember right now. But God bless you. And and so we were camping. And I don't know what happened, but like a storm came our way, and we were starting to like pack things up and get dressed to like pick everything up and like move and like leave. But I was still in the tent getting dressed, and I had my foot up like facing the top of the tent while I'm putting my socks on. And boom, next thing you know, this lightning just strikes the tent, and it burns a hole to the top of the tent and right on the tip of the toe area of my sock. And all you see is like a little bit of fire and like smoke coming out of the top of the tent and the top of the tip of my sock, and you see the hole. And you know, when things burn, they leave like a little like black ring of like the burnt side of whatever got burned. So you see this huge hole around like the toe area of my sock, smoke coming out of it, smoke coming out of the top of the tent. And yet I was not injured. I was not, nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to my toe. Nothing happened to my foot. I was good to go. I was scared because I was like, I didn't understand, but I was like, I left the sock. And I ran out of there. It was funny because I did not understand. I was so shocked. I was so, like, it was a good panic. It was like, God, thank you for not allowing my toe and foot to get fried, but how the heck did that happen? Like, but again, these are testimonies that when you tell other people, it's like, one, they might not even like believe you, or if they believe you, they have so many questions. And it's just like, look, man, I don't know how it works. I don't know why it happened the way it did, but God protected me, you know, and that was God's hand over me and my safety. But anyways, all this to say, you know, if you guys at any point in time are blessed through these streams, through the videos, through the conversations that we have on this channel, feel free to share some of those testimonies. Because I mean, Dead Twist shared his, and I was moved to tears. Because again, I was just like, you know, this is totally worth it. Like being on here, there's a purpose of being on here, and I'm glad, and it made my heart bounce for joy and happiness when I saw what Dead Twist wrote in the live chat the other day, and it made me happy. Because it's like, it really does go to show you, like, it, you know, God does have plans and purpose on this channel, and there is people to be reached, and people will be reached, and people will come to Christ, you know, through the channel in some way, shape, or form. So, anyways, I'm gonna shut up for a few, and I'm going to allow you guys to talk or ask questions for a few more minutes, and then like at 11:35, I'll call it a night. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions about Pops or his ministry or our family and our ministry as a family, or whatever the case may be, it's weird. Let me know in the live chat area. Oh yeah, I left it. Now I left it and ran away from the tent, Jules, but at some point we had to, like, after the storm had passed, we came back to it, and I showed it to like my mom, I showed it to like my brother and some of the commanders, and I explained the story to them, and they were just like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, look at the top of the tent, look at my sock." Yeah, I'm serious. So thankfully I had it as a evidence, and I think I kept it with me for like a while, and I guess at some point it got tossed out. But it was, for as long as it was with me, it served as like a reminder, of God's protection over me. But yeah, any questions any of you might have right now is the time to speak, or forever hold your peace. So feel free to ask, feel free to talk, feel free to comment, whatever you guys want to do. I'm here for another few minutes. So I think 5 minutes. I'm leaving in 5 minutes. I was actually going to share another video of Pops, like, where he was actually preaching. So I'll just do that for a few seconds, so y'all could see him in action real quick. It was one of the last services he preached at one of our old locations that we were at before they finally moved to the last location of a church up in the mountains. But this is him right here. And this is David. And this is me over here in the drum.
En esa voces que decían Hosana, había también un mover de hipocresía de entre ellos. Porque el deseo de muchos de ellos era que Jesús entrara a dar un golpe de estado a los romanos. Jesús decía que su reino no era de este mundo, pero ellos no lo entendían. El reino de Dios está entre nosotros. Está en cada uno de los corazones que se abrieron para recibir al Señor en su vida. ¿Cuántas cosas? Ponte a pensar ahora. Y vamos a terminar ya el programa. Yo quiero que usted cierre sus ojos. Gloria a Dios. Incline su rostro. Poderoso Dios. Yo quiero que usted en su mente dé un viaje conmigo. Poderoso Dios, aleluya. Y no es que estamos practicando aquí nada de brujería, hechicería, ni transición. Pero yo quiero que usted cierre sus ojos y usted vaya y piense y recuerde quién era usted antes de conocer a Jesús. Véase en el fango que usted estaba. Vea el rumbo que iba su vida. Vea que por ese rumbo que usted iba, lo poco que iba a durar su vida. ¿Se acuerda de aquel día que usted escuchó la palabra? Esa palabra de poder, esa palabra ungida. Llegó a tu vida, llegó a tu corazón, llegó a tu mente, ministró a todo tu ser. Y tú dijiste, Señor, yo necesito que tú seas el Señor de mi vida. Yo te doy mi corazón. Yo te doy mi vida. Ese día dijiste, Señor, te doy mi corazón y te doy mi vida.
Ahora yo quiero que te preguntes, ¿realmente le has dado tu vida al Señor?
I would translate it, but I'm gonna give y'all that as homework. No, but yeah, it was a great service. It was a great sermon that he preached that day, and it's split up in different parts on the YouTube channel. And I think at some point y'all see me playing the drums towards the end of the service or something like that. So if you're into watching a drummer drum, then you know there's that. But that being said, y'all, I'm going to call it a night. And I am going to thank you all for being here, for, you know, giving the channel support like you guys always do. And yeah, God bless every single one of you guys. We love you all. And yeah, I'm going to try to confirm with David what days exactly he's going to be able to get on here with me and make it happen. But we'll make it happen, and we'll keep talking about Pops and his legacy and his ministry, and you know the ups and downs of being a pastor and having a family, and being able to balance the both things, and yeah, and being a provider still, and you know having an actual job to be able to sustain a household. And so many challenges that Pops had, and yet he still came out thriving and beyond, right? So stay tuned for that in the coming days. And obviously I'll either announce it or I'll just title it in one of the live stream titles. And that way y'all know in advance what it's about. But yeah, if anybody has anything to say before I leave, say it now, or you know, forever hold your peace. Give like just a few seconds, just in case. And thank you for allowing me to share my family with you all. But yeah, that being said, this is Jay with Vision IView TV, and until next time, God bless and peace.